And with that, Olivia, you can get started.
They're still not here, correct?
No.
Okay, so we are going to go ahead and get started. I will call this the oh my gosh, it's not
25th.
20. My form is not opening it. Oh, this is frustrating. Okay. I call this the 25th meeting of the Student Senate to order at 7:07 p.m. Our captioner is currently delayed, so we will send a video live stream on YouTube that will be captioned within the next day or two. So there will be this, but for right now, we don't have our captioner, but hopefully they will be here soon. So we can, as roll call has been taken, as people arrived into the meeting, Clerk Fox, can you please read the roll call?
There are 40 senators in attendance, making 21 simple majority and 28 as 2/3.
Thank you very much. We can now move into public forum. President Rija Khan is here to speak with us in public forum to discuss shared governance. I did share a document with you all that the president has shared with me. She's going to discuss some of the things in it. So if you want to pull it up to have more reference for what she's talking about, feel free to do that. So President Khan, go ahead. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Hello, everyone. I am here to present present to you the shared governance document that I have worked on alongside the previous presidents for USS Senate, Faculty Senate, and UP Senate. So just before I get into the actual content of this, I would like to tell you that there is already one shared governance existed. Let me try that sentence again. There's already a document in existence regarding shared governance, but this one is slightly different because this one will include students. So we're basically updating it. It is nothing new, but it is something that, again, we are just rewriting to make sure that if we practice shared governance, that is something we don't just do with the other constituency groups, but we include all of them. So for some of you who may not know what shared governance is or what it may look like on a college campus, it's basically a process to make sure that if one constituency group is making a decision or trying to pass a policy procedure, we are including other other constituency groups, making sure that they're involved in the conversation. And as we get more into the content of this document, when we look at the purpose, first, who are the constituency groups? So we have students, faculty, staff, and administration on the campus of Wichita State. And it's basically us saying that during the decision-making process, we want to make sure that we are, if the decision is being made on policy, procedures, initiatives that are, affecting Wichita State, we involve everybody that will be affected by it. So I guess you all can probably read the purpose and like everything in much more detail. So I'm just going to cover it, the general, the reasoning behind it or what it means. So the purpose is right there. I just quickly kind of summarized it. Now for the policy aspect of it, which is our shared governance principles, we have added 4 principles, which are mutual accountability, transparency, inclusivity, and genuine consultation and respect. So with mutual accountability, that's just us making sure that if a group, whether let's say it's administration, they said that they would provide free ice cream on Tuesday, well, we're going to make sure that we hold them accountable for it. And so mutual accountability is us holding them accountable, but then they can also hold us accountable for something that we said we would do or we said we wouldn't do. Then we have transparency. That is more so us just making sure that when we are working on initiatives, it's not, in hiding, but we're communicating that with each other that, hey, for the future, this is what we're going to do. And we want to make sure we're being transparent with you as to why we're doing it, how we're going to do it, and when it's going to be done. Inclusivity is more on the side of, let's say, student government is wanting to create a policy that will affect, let's say, faculty and administration. So in that moment, it makes sense to have those 2 groups at the table, making sure that we're including them in the conversations while, while these discussions are happening and decision-making process is taking place, even though the authority would be ours to make the final decision. But this is just our way of saying that, hey, we're including you to get your viewpoint. And then genuine consultation and respect, that's mostly now that they're at the table, or we are at the table, whatever that looks like, we're just making sure that we are collaborating with each other with respect and genuine consultation, rather than just ignoring what one group has said. We take that into consideration as whatever the final decision may be. So those are the principles that we came up with. And then the second section, which is institutional support for constituent leaders. Now, this was specifically created for faculty and staff. This is more so on the side of, they usually get paid while they're in this role, and they're paid through the university, and for whatever work they will be doing in the president role for their Senate, they get paid. And so we made sure that we added this piece where, if they're wanting to, make sure that they're getting paid a certain amount, that is in the shared governance document, because if a faculty member is giving a few classes to be there, they should be paid a reasonable amount. And if a staff member is doing the same, again, they should not be paid any less than, a faculty member, because the work all the presidents do is very similar, but obviously different in its own position. And then at the end of it, we have Student Government Association leadership, and it just talks about that the president is paid. So my role is paid through the SGA budget. So we just added that there, not with, a purpose of them paying us or paying this role, but it's more so to just mention students, because this entire document is, again, regarding shared governance. So it just made sense to write a sentence about, SGA president salary and as to where it comes from. So overall, that is the entire document. And then there's a definition as to who it includes as the constituency group. And it has references to other additional resources. As I present this to you all, this is me asking for your feedback. So this is the draft version of it so I'm bringing it to you. The other presidents have taken it to their Senate to receive feedback. Whatever feedback you all will be providing me today, and whatever feedback the other constituency groups or senates have provided, the working group will get together again. We will see what are some of the concerns that overlap, and based on that, we will be moving forward with those recommendations. And then at the end, once we have the final version ready, we expect to bring those through our student senates to make sure that you all vote on the policy as is, rather than make any amendments. So to make any amendments, we are again doing the feedback work right now. And what else is there? I believe that's all. I think I'm open for questions and any feedback that anyone has for me.
Are there any questions or feedback on shared governance for the president? Senator Manette.
Okay, hi, sorry. So my question is in regards to SGA initiatives. So the university, they have their own way of going about initiatives, and they have key performance indicators and everything. The strategic planning initiatives, they have certain guidelines that they have to adhere to. Is that going to affect how SGA initiatives are basically carried out from this point forward, WSU metrics and KBOR metrics, or if we're still going to have our own?
So thank you for that question, Senator Manette. So when it comes to our initiatives, everything that we as student government do, it is not solely based on as to what we want. We already have to collaborate with all of these different constituency groups to get those things passed or to see those come to life. And with this document, it's just us saying that as a university, we expect, to have genuine consultation and respect while in those meetings, accountability. And those are just the pieces that we already believe in, but we're just writing them down. And I don't think this will necessarily affect how we push forward with our initiatives, because again, a lot of the things that we as students want or push for, it is already in collaboration with, I guess, administration, faculty, and sometimes staff. So to answer your question, it doesn't really affect the process for the procedure.
Okay, thank you so much.
Are there any other questions for President Khan? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much, President Khan. If, as you are reviewing this document later on, you have any feedback, questions, concerns, please feel free to email President Khan so that we can get a lot of these things addressed so that we can have a really good document that when it officially comes forward to the Senate, we can pass fairly easily. Okay, thank you very much. And we can now move into the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
With a motion,
Senator Hull.
I move that we approve the minutes with unanimous consent.
With a motion to approve the minutes by unanimous consent, are there any objections to this motion? Please raise your hand. Seeing none, we have approved the minutes. We can now move on to the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
With a motion,
Senator Hull.
with a motion to approve the agenda with unanimous consent.
With a motion to approve the agenda by unanimous consent, are there any objections to this motion? Seeing none, the agenda has been approved by unanimous consent. There are no items on the consent agenda, so we can move into unfinished business. Item A, the clerk will read.
Item A is SB 63-091, the Senate Review Board Reapportionment Act of 2021, introduced by Senator Nate Thomas and Senator Rachel Spencer for themselves. The Senate Review Board Reapportionment Act works to establish the Senate Review Board as a regulatory body with the Senate and by its officers. This act will make amendments to the bylaws concerning the standing committees and their compositions, as well as the duties of its members. This is referred to Committee of the Whole from Rules and Administration with no vote required as it is the first read. Is that correct?
No, that is not correct. That is, again, I made this really quickly, so that's a mistake on my part. Haven't had a lot of time this week. Been a bit busy. So it should be a simple majority vote as it's a change to the bylaws. So with that, are there any last minute questions on this bill before we move into the debate period? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone who would like to speak in affirmation of this bill? Senator Majors.
Yeah, I'll just say the committee worked long and hard on this legislation. We took everything into consideration, the big decisions that we made. And I think that it's going to make the Senate Review Board process a lot more efficient and a lot more effective, and that'll benefit everyone in the Senate. So.
Thank you, Senator Majors. Is there anyone who would like to speak in negation? Seeing none, is there another speech in affirmation? I will give a speech in affirmation. I think that this bill has been worked on very hard. A lot of thought and consideration was given to it. These decisions weren't made lightly, which I really, really appreciate the work done by the Ways and Means Committee and the authors on this bill. And I think that this is a necessary change that needs to happen in SGA so that we can function properly and have the correct accountability systems in place. Okay, I will now move back. So are there any other speeches on this bill? Okay, seeing none, we can move into the voting period on this item. The clerk will share the link to the voting in the chat. Please make sure that you put your first and last name when you fill out the form, please. That helps us a lot when we're going back through and making our vote record. And by us, I mean Talon. So please make sure that it is your first and last name when you fill out the form. Okay, that will conclude our voting period with 39 in favor, 1 against, and no abstentions. This bill passes. And we can now move into new business. Item A, the clerk will read.
Item A is SB 63-096, the Domestic Student Hardship Fund, introduced by Senator Camila Gum, Senator Hunter Minette, Senator Marsha Glenn, Senator Calvin Pomeroy, and Senator Lila Kohler for themselves. Students have faced and will continue to face various hardships, including but not limited to loss of income, change of residency, and fluctuations in mental and physical health. This is referred from the Budget and Finance Committee with a simple majority vote required.
Thank you, Clerk Fox. Would either Senator Gum, Senator Minette, Senator Glenn, Senator Pomeroy, or Senator Kohler like to give an authorship speech?
Okay, I could go. So this bill is actually a brainchild of our DEI committee. Starting from last semester, we've always discussed and wanting to create some type of fund to help students that might be going through some situations and need some type of funding. So after a series of deliberations with, Chair of Budget and Finance and VP Haas and other members in SGA, we came to the conclusion that a domestic fund is needed since there's an international student fund as well. So we decided just to create one for domestic students. That way they'll be able to access some emergency funds from SGA. So that's basically the gist of it all.
Thank you, Senator Gums. I would like to add a little bit more clarification on that because this is a hardship fund. And I think a lot of times there's a little confusion on what a hardship fund means. So a hardship fund is not a scholarship. And that's really important to note that this money cannot be used to pay for school. To be fair, we just give people money and they can spend it how they would like. But when you ask for money, you cannot ask for money to pay for school because this is meant to be a hardship fund to address problems that are unforeseen. So if you are diagnosed with a serious illness and you have severe, like really expensive medical bills that you need to pay, this can help you with that. If your car breaks down and you have to pay $500 to replace part of your car, and that's going to heavily impact your experience at the university, this fund is for that. It's the point of this fund is that there are opportunities for you to get money to pay for your education. There's not opportunities for you to get money to pay for those other day-to-day expenses that affect our lives. So that's an important distinction on how this hardship fund works. Is that it's not a scholarship. It pays for not day-to-day expenses, but extraordinary expenses that could not be covered through scholarship. So with that, are there any questions for the authors? Senator Day.
Yeah, I just have a quick question. I see that the maximum allocated to a student is $500. What is the overall amount allocated to the scholarship fund as a whole, or has that been decided yet?
I can answer that.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we basically formed the bill off of the International Students Hardship Fund. And so, right, for that hardship fund, there's $10,000 allocated. So that's what we're estimating is going to be in the fund for this. And the $500 is half of the $1,000 which international students get because, I mean, there's not the serious airfare that we're having to deal with domestic students as we would for international students. So that's the reason for the $500 instead of $1,000, and it's like a $10,000 fund.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions for the authors? Okay, seeing none, as this is a first read, we will move into debate and vote on this item next week. We can now move on to item B. The clerk will read.
Item B is Item B is SB 63-093, Supreme Court Constitution Act, introduced by Speaker Olivia Babin, Senator Tayton Majors, Senator Aaron Mounts, Senator Nathaniel Thomas, and Senator Red Martin for themselves. As authorized by the Student Senate and the President of the Association, joined together under Association Resolution 63-010, resolution to create a task force on the Supreme Court. This bill is the recommendation of the changes to the Supreme Court. These changes were approved by the task force on February 10th, 2021 by a 5-0 vote. This is referred from Ways and Means with no vote required tonight as it is the first read.
So I can give the authorship speech on this bill if that is okay with the other members of the committee. Feel free to jump in and correct me if you think I'm wrong. So these are the changes specifically to the Constitution. We split it into two bills so that we have constitutional changes and bylaw changes, just so it makes our lives easier as we're going through this. So this is specifically the constitutional changes where a lot of the major changes were made. So the first, I'll just kind of go down the line to explain what each change is and why we made it. So to start, we changed the composition of the court. There are currently 2 faculty members who are supposed to serve on the court. We removed those 2 faculty positions and replaced them with 2 more student positions. So now the court is made up of 7 students and no faculty members. We can now move down. That is not really important. Okay, so the term of appointment is another major change. So we are changing the term of appointment from 2 years to the basically the length of your degree program. So if you are an undergraduate student and you are here for 5 years and you get appointed to the court in your freshman year, you are on the court for 5 years until you are either removed or choose to resign. This will allow the court to have more continuity of governance over long periods of time. It keeps us from having to replace people on the court every single year. And it will basically just make the court easier to fill. Because at any point, someone can choose to leave the court or be removed from the court. But this is for the term of your degree program. So let's say I was on the court, I finished my undergraduate degree program and I applied to be a graduate student and I'm going to be a graduate student at WSU. I would have to reapply to be on the court because my program ended. I graduated. Even though I'm coming back, I would have to reapply if I still wanted to serve. So yes, and there's one more change. We changed the quorum of members from 5 to 4. So this will make it easier for them to meet. We understand that this is an even number, but we did write into the bylaws what happens if there is a tie. So that scenario is laid out, but one of the major problems the court has had is their inability to meet quorum. So we made it easier for them to meet quorum. Hopefully they can get more business done because of this. Does anyone who was on the committee have anything to add? Great. Are there any questions? Okay, if there are no questions about this bill, oh, Senator Tubak.
Sorry, I applauded instead of raising my hand, but yeah, I wanted to ask about the removal of the faculty positions, and could you just elaborate on why that decision was made?
Yeah, so the faculty positions are positions that haven't been filled as frequently. And so it's hard for us to have much control over faculty positions. And the faculty positions are the positions that are forcing the committee to not meet quorum because they aren't able to attend, and having to deal with faculty schedules as well as student schedules has been difficult. This is also a student government function that doesn't really have much to do with faculty. So I don't really feel that bad removing them from this court. This is something that specifically is students being able to advocate towards students and having a student perspective. And I think it's really important that we keep that, students have full agency over those things. Is that enough elaboration? Do I need to add more? Okay. Are there any other questions?
Madam Speaker, if I can really quick, I also just want to add, when we did some history looking into when the Supreme Court was started, its original intent, and I mean, this is going back years, so I apologize if I can't give the exact year, but its original intent was designed and approved by the Faculty Senate, so I'm pretty sure that's why faculty were involved in the process. But since then, things have changed a little bit, and I would agree with the sentiment of the task force that I think this is a better direction to head to, and a better direction of removing those positions, because at this point, right, the court, majority of its role is jurisdiction over, constitutional, bylaws, statutorial issues, conflicts between the two branches, but also university, courts, and just for some reference for everyone, right, with parking, transportation, or parking and traffic appeals and library appeals that impact students. And so I think it's best to have, a court of your peers deciding on appeal cases or cases within the student government. But yeah, I don't know why I felt compelled to share that, but you're all welcome.
Does anyone else have any questions they would like to ask? Senator Zacharias.
So I was under the impression that the Supreme Court did handle like parking appeals from faculty and staff members. Where would those go if they had to move it up? Would it still go to this court?
Yeah, it will still go to this court. Are there any other questions? Do you have a follow-up, Crystal?
No, I'm just trying to put my hand down.
That's okay. Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we will move into debate and vote on this item next week. We can move on to item C. The clerk will read.
Item C is SB 63-092, the Supreme Court Act, introduced by Speaker Olivia Babin, Senator Tayton Majors, Senator Aaron Mounts, Senator Nathaniel Thomas, and Senator Red Martin for themselves. As authorized by the Student Senate and the President of the Association, joined together under Association Resolution 63-010, resolution to create a task force on the Supreme Court, this bill is the recommendation of changes to the Supreme Court. These changes were approved by the task force on February 10th, 2021 by a 5-0 vote. This is referred from Ways and Means with no vote required tonight, as it is the first read.
So I will do this one again. If my committee members have no objections, feel free to jump in if I say something wrong or you want to add. So we can just go down the line again. So major changes to the Chief Justice position. So we have decided, or this bill would change that the Chief Justice would need to be confirmed by a 2/3 vote of the Senate. So it'll be nominated and elected by the justices and then just confirmed by the Senate, as most positions are confirmed by the Senate already. And then we added a couple responsibilities to this position because this is now going to be a paid position, which will come in another bill later. We had to approve, I wanted to approve the budget before we officially did that. Anyway, so we added some new responsibilities because if this is going to be a paid position with required hours, they need to have more responsibilities. A lot of them are things we just moved from the court, the clerk of the court, and just brought them up. So lessening the responsibilities of that unpaid position, giving more to the paid position. So we have removed the option of a closed meeting from the court. It doesn't feel necessary since we have dropped the quorum requirement for the court. They can, same as the Senate, meet in whatever way they would like. I have meetings with people all the time. Other senators have meetings with each other. All of that is still allowed as long as they aren't having at least 4 senators present, and its quorum needs to be a public meeting. And they are still pursuant to COMA, CORA, and all of the FERPA rights. They are able to go into executive session at any point if things in their meeting need to be private. That ability is awarded to them. It just needs to be noted in their minutes that they move into executive session, basically saying this part of the meeting is private. Couple small changes that aren't really that necessary. Some, yeah, all the rest of that is just cleaning up the language, nothing super crazy. So with that, are there any questions? No questions? Senator Day.
Okay, so I noticed that the Chief Justice, although it is that position is confirmed by the Senate, it's not nominated by like the president or anyone. It's like just appointed by the justices in that sense. Could you elaborate on that reasoning behind that?
Yeah, so that's the same way that the speaker is. So the speaker is nominated from within this body, and so it makes sense to me that from within the body of the court that they would get to nominate their head of branch. Just that it should be approved by the Senate, because all heads of branches are approved by either the Senate or the entire student body. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just a little bit interested just because I know like the real life like U.S. Supreme Court, it's like appointed in a different process. So I just thought that was interesting. So
yeah, it just doesn't, it feels like this is a more equitable way between the three of our branches and to match our system, which we don't have to match everything the federal government does. So I think that this is just the best solution for us to allow them to pick their own head of branch.
that's fair. Thank you.
Are there any
Madam
other
Speaker?
questions? I'll go ahead, Advisor Fonseca.
Yeah, and also Senator Day, just for you to know, right, like it still requires that the student body president sign off on it because it is a Senate bill. So, right, the nomination will funnel through all branches of government anyways, or sorry, the confirmation of the Chief Justice will still funnel through all branches of the government. So while the president doesn't directly just decide the person, they still have a decision in whether or not they'll sign off on the confirmation after that. So there's still the mechanism, because it's still a Senate bill, will follow through the same process.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions about this bill? Great. Well, I'm tired, so I'm glad that wasn't too complicated. Way to go, everybody. We can move on to, oh, that's everything. So there are some new bills in the referred to committee section. I wrote all of them, but they are all some fairly major, some very easy changes to our processes. So give them a look. Make sure that you review those. And we can now move into officer reports, and I will start us off. So my report's not very long. I've been doing student fees. Student fees is an all-day process, but I did want to give you all an update on what is going on in student fees. So we are working as hard as we can to make sure that we have a good budget for students, and we're trying to make sure that everything is as equitable as it needs to be. I will tell you all that we will not go past a 2% increase in student fees. For reference, that is $16 a year, an increase of $16 a year per student. We're not going to go past that. We're also probably not going to hit that. It's probably going to be lower than that. But it's also probably not going to be zero. Just the way the budgets are, there's a lot of important things that need to happen, as well as we need to address a shortfall from last year. And we need to address the fact there are less students that are going to be on campus next year. So there's a lot of things that go into this decision, and it's not likely that we will have a 0%, but we're trying as hard as we can to get as close to zero as we can possibly get. So I wanted to let you all know that, to not feel in the dark about this process, but I also am going to encourage you all to watch the live stream. We are making some very bold choices in what is happening in student fees. We are not funding something, or potentially, all of this is potential, nothing has officially passed. We're potentially not funding some things that other groups may have funded in the past. So please pay attention to that. If you want to listen to it, to listen to and understand reasonings and discussions and all of that, these are bold choices that we're making. And we have to, because we have a big budget that we need to balance. So please keep looking at that. I know if you paid attention today, we had some really, really good conversations and some really good progress was made that will help students. Yes, so that's everything there. If you do have questions about the student fees process, feel free to reach out to myself, Senator Hull, Senator Mwika, Senator Brown, Senator Kirk. I think that's all the senators that are on the committee.
Senator Martin.
Senator Martin, thank you. I apologize. I'm tired, Red, I'm sorry. Okay, there's a lot of people on the committee. Feel free to reach out to any of us and we would be happy to answer any questions. This is a totally open process. So please ask us questions and we want to answer them and talk about it. Yes, so I also wanted to talk, so beginning next week, we are going to start doing hybrid Senate meetings. So providing you all the option to come in person to do Senate. So there will be an RSVP form that will be sent on Mondays that you will need to fill out by Tuesday at noon so that we can have an exact number of people who are going to be there. We'll know who's going to be there. We will ask that if you are deciding to come in person to Senate, please try and get tested sometime this week, just to be doubly sure. You will be required to wear a mask. At no point when you are in the room can you take your mask off. That is very important. I mean, if you're going to get a drink, you know, be quick, careful about it, things like that. But so you will need to check in. Everyone not in person will be on Zoom. We've been working in this hybrid format doing student fees, and it's worked out really well. It's allowed us to have more in-depth conversations that honestly are kind of awkward over Zooms. And I think that will be a really great environment for us to keep everyone safe, and those who need to stay home can stay home while still having the opportunity to participate in our conversations, and we'll be able to have some freer discussions without kind of this weird Zoom barrier. So I'm very excited about that. But again, you have to fill out the RSVP form. You have to wear a mask. Honestly, you should be wearing 2 masks, things like that. We're going to be as safe as we possibly can. Yes. And then for my senators of the week, Bailey Sandy and Jordy Mosqueda have been working really, really hard on getting these conversations about our grading system started. They've been doing some great work. So shout out to you guys. I really, really appreciate all that work. And I really think that we're going to get some good stuff done with this grading system. And I'm really, really proud of you all. So way to go. That is my report. And we can now move on to Senator Liu, your report.
Thanks. Before I begin, Senator Tubak raised his hand.
Oh, I apologize. Senator Tubak, go ahead.
Sorry, I hate to do this to you, but I just had a question. I was watching the live stream today, and I'm asking you specifically because you made the motion, but I wanted to know, I was confused about the Student Support Services Scholarship, because I think at one point it was said that it was a $6,000 request, but I think it was also said that it was like a $4,500 request, and I wasn't sure which one was correct, or if they're both kind of correct, or what was going on.
Yeah, so all of the things involving the student support EOF fund and the disability services EOF fund are very confusing. So totally understand your question. Basically, they every year they give $4,500 in scholarships during the fall semester. They asked for an increase to get to 6,000 or so. They did not provide a lot of context on that increase. So we don't know exactly how many more scholarships they would be giving, if they would be giving more scholarships or more money. We don't have the context on that. And as I mentioned quite a few times in that meeting, that is a very, very well-funded program. And so our concerns is we just want to make sure that we are providing funding to the programs that need it the most. And as we're making cuts, obviously, we want to keep as many scholarship dollars as we can, but a lot of times it's those increases that can be difficult to deal with. And we don't have a lot of context on that increase. So we decided to stick with the 4,500, not taking away any scholarships that students currently receive and just keeping it at what it was before and cutting a lot of the extra things that they were receiving money for that EOF funds are not meant for. Is that a good enough response? I'm happy to elaborate on anything.
Yes, thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
That's good.
Are there any other questions for me about anything involving student fees? I'm happy to answer that here publicly, or any other questions about what I'm doing. There's not much. It's pretty much just student fees right now. Okay, great. So now we can move on to Senator Liu. I apologize for not seeing your hand there, Senator Tubak.
All right, so this week, Senator Sandy Mosqueda and we've started discussions regarding adding an A+ to the grading scale. We've talked to Dr. Perry and Dr. English, and they seem to be in full support of it, and we'll be moving forward with proposals to the faculty senate within the month, and also talking to more faculty for SGA Diversity Week. We met with interim provost, and she was in full support of our initiative. She offered to help us get into academic forum and in front of the Council of Deans to present our initiative. We also met with housing, and they offered their support in both marketing and having RAs come to our events. And they also offered potential of financial resources to make the week as best as we can for students. Senators Lane and Mosqueda have also been working on a resolution in support of a new red shelf alternative. So shout out to them. Senator Thompson has been working on a project to create a list of amenities for students to kind of get more students involved on campus. And for Faculty Senate, there was a shared governance update, as President Khan mentioned, and also Blackboard will be getting updated to something called Blackboard Ultra. If you want more information, there's a link which will be in my report, and you can read the report about it there.
Are there any questions for Senator Liu? Okay, seeing none, we can move on to Senator Hull. Go ahead with your report. Senator Hull. Maggie, I can hear you talking in the other room, but you are not speaking on the screen. She got kicked out. Hold on. Senator Hull, are you back?
Yes, I apologize, everyone. My laptop decided to quit. My report this week is student fees. As Speaker Robbins said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I would recommend, if you're not really doing much, or if you're working on homework, just put it on in the background so you can at least listen and know what's happening. Before student fees started, myself, Senator Minette, and Senator Lozano finished up some legislation that you all should be seeing soon, and we're all very excited about it. But that is it.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Senator Hull? Okay, seeing none, we can move on to Senator Gums. Go ahead with your report.
Good night, everyone. My report is extremely short this week. So basically, this last week, I met with Director of Media, Masara Asharai, and we just discussed items and working on what we're going to be doing for Women's Month and what we might be doing for a potential virtual talent show. That will be at the beginning of April. So for Women's Month, we already start posting. So if you look at the SGA page, Twitter and Instagram, you should see our first 3 graphics from blurbs from my committee members. And we'll be also posting a video this Friday and the next 3 Fridays. So we have content coming up for the rest of the month. And as well, with myself and Senator David Liu, we met with representatives of housing in regards of Diversity Week. and we've gotten some good response and support from them. So that should be interesting and great moving forward. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Senator Gums. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, seeing none, we can move on to Senator Perkins. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I also have a somewhat short update this week. I had our monthly meeting, general government relations update meeting with Zach, and there's a lot going on. I just wanted to highlight that it's the turnaround date this week in the state legislature, and so a lot is happening there. I would just highlight that the bill that we passed legislation on last week, SB 208, action is going to be taken on that tomorrow. So I would just highlight that if you're interested in staying engaged with that, follow up with your representatives, especially your state senator. So just encourage you to do that. We're finalizing the details for an event around civic engagement that we're working on with Danielle Johnson, and we'll finalize those for later this week, so that's exciting. And other than that, I've just been working on my transition guide because I didn't have a lot this week, so I'm open to questions if you have any.
Does anyone have any questions for Senator Perkins? Okay, thank you very much, Senator Perkins, for your work this week. Senator Day, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Basically, as an individual right now, I'm working on two kind of pretty big projects right now. The first one that's coming up, and the one I'm very excited to announce today, is the what's it called? The Campus Policing Listening Session. This will be held on March 24th over Zoom, probably at 5:30. Basically, it's intended as like a safe, open space for students to freely express like what they think of how UPD is performing, how they like their camp, what their presence should look like in any regard they feel. And it's intended just to be an honest, open forum. There will be no police present there, and that's by design. We want people to be as open and honest as possible. And obviously it's an uncomfortable discussion, but we want them to be relatively comfortable with saying what they want. I've been working with Director of Public Relations Dave Garcia on it. It will not be live streamed, and that's intentional because we don't want people to feel uncomfortable. If anyone has any questions or comments about that, just let me know. I'm still working on the Sustainability Month that will be held in April. I've reached out to Carolyn Shaw and Matt Laughlin about it. I also worked with President Khan, Mr. Government's document a bit earlier today, just discussed it with her. Kind of a slow week overall, though, not a whole lot to talk about.
Does anyone have any questions for Senator Day? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much, Senator Day. Senator Majors, go ahead.
Yeah, so the first thing I did since the last time I spoke to you all is I conducted some very productive meetings with representatives from Central Arkansas University, just in regards to their Ways and Means Committee, and in my attempt to better define what the committee will look like moving forward, and what we'd like to see change for Ways and Means Committee. I've also been game planning what I want the rest of the semester to look like, and so I've been creating committee tasks and assignments that I'll be sending out to my committee members relatively soon. Also, I have been watching when I could some of the student fees hearings. Just today, the live stream was 7 hours long, so pray for those who are having to be within those, or thoughts and prayers at least. And yeah, and just making changes to my transition guide, because that is something massive that we do as chairs. So that's what I've been working on.
Does anyone have any questions for Senator Majors? Okay, seeing none, we can move into association reports. Vice President Haas, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I first would like to apologize for the lighting in here. It's not great, but I'm gonna just go with it. So the Health and Wellness Advisory Board meeting was this past Tuesday. If you want the minutes, please just email me. I will send them your way. And then also, we as a cabinet are gearing up for Wellness Weeks next week. The graphics are created. They're out on our social media, so if you will share them. And then there is a Google form for the wellness kits. So we put together a bag of just goodies that have to do with wellness. So if you fill out the form, you can get a free kit. And we will be doing tabling next week to give those out. There will be 500, so please encourage your student or your friends to fill that out as well. Sorry. Additionally, I will be meeting with parking coming soon, hopefully. So if you have any questions, please email them to me. I have offered for cabinet to email me their questions, but if you have specific questions that you want me to ask parking, this is really just a preliminary meeting with our, I don't know what her actual title is, Director of Parking, Laura Raymond. She is just going to have a conversation with me about some questions that we have, and then moving forward, there will be a committee put together, hopefully, to kind of work on some parking issues. So that's what I have for now. Email me your questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Vice President Haas? Okay, seeing none, Advisor Fonseca, go ahead.
Honestly, I do not have anything to report other than just some advice. We get ready to move to the student fees process. I highly encourage you all to make sure that in some capacity you're paying attention. When the draft of the bill comes out, please make sure you are reading it. Just because there's a 3-read process in the Senate doesn't mean you shouldn't spend time reading it for yourself so that you understand what your questions will be. So I strongly encourage you when the draft comes out, or I guess when the bill comes out, that you read it, ask the questions you need to ask, but make sure you're prepared for the introduction. I don't know when that is, but when the first read happens. But other than that, that is all.
Thank you, Advisor Fonseca. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, we can move into remarks and announcements. As always, I have a remark and announcement, so please make sure you fill out your Senator Hours form. If you're on the Student Fees Committee, that counts for a lot of hours, many hours. Everyone else, please make sure that you do, well, everyone, please fill out this form. I did just drop it in the chat. Do it right now. It doesn't take very long. I would love to see everyone fill out the form. That doesn't happen very often. So please fill out the form. That is my whole thing. Senator Martin, do you have a remark and announcement?
No, I'm just, I think the link you sent in the chat is to this Zoom meeting and not the form.
You are correct. That was not my greatest moment. I apologize. I have been working since like 7:30. So there we go. That should be the correct link now. Clearly I'm all here tonight. Senator Day.
Hello, everyone. I'm talking again because I have a bit of an organization announcement. The application deadline for Ambassadors for Diversity and Inclusion is coming up on March 19th, which is a Friday next week. I think this is a wonderful organization. It does a tremendous amount of great work, and it's a great community to be a part of. So I would definitely consider looking into it if you're interested. And I think another thing I would add real quick is that the March announcements is a great time to do organization promotions, at least in my opinion. So if you want to do that for your org, go ahead.
Yeah, feel free. We do have an audience that's not just the people in this meeting. People do watch our live stream. So if you have anything you'd like to announce, please go ahead, promote your organizations. All of that is welcome here. So with that, are there any further remarks and announcements? Okay, great. Well, before you leave, please make sure that you fill out the final roll call form that the clerk will post. So please fill that out before you leave. Again, you will not get full credit for being in attendance at the meeting if you do not fill out that form. So fill out that form and then leave. And with that, I will adjourn this meeting until next week. So thank you all for being here. I don't want to meet with any of you afterwards. So please go. I would like to go home.
You guys are good. I just need to turn the live stream off.